So we need to ask questions in order to have clarity on what we're talking about. So what are we talking about? Love. So what is love? Let me get a pen. I might want to write something down. Or instead of asking, because some might say that's a loaded question. If I was to say to you, someone says to you, I love you, is that proof that they love you? No. All right, hold on. So just read that. 1. If someone says to you, I love you, is that proof that they love you? No. No. That was resounding. No. Okay. Why is that not proof? You need more evidence. Okay. So, someone can't just say that they love you. They have to show it. All right. How do you show someone you love them? Action. Action. Okay. I'll write that down. What do they usually say? Actions, speak. Okay. All right. So when it comes to understanding love, I'm going to be speaking about quite a few people, but I did mention that I'll be speaking about Dr. Amos Wilson. So when it comes on to love, we all agree that if someone says I love you, that's not enough. They have to show it through action. Yeah? Well, here's another question. Is love taught then? All right, listen to what Dr. Amos Wilson says with regards to this. He's going to talk about how, the environment that we live in is teaching us how to love.
You see, many of us are raised in this culture, and we've been raised to think love is something just natural and just flows out of living. I'm speaking now particularly of romantic love. But actually, you have to learn how to love. Love is taught to you. You teenagers, you're being taught what love is. How are you taught that? You're taught it by listening to these records all the time. And you hear your idols singing about love. You make me feel so good. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't live without you. And then one of the people say, I must be in love. And, I can't go on. Here's my heart. Don't break it. Yeah. You see, my life has no meaning, and all of these kinds of things. And you read what? Poetry. And of course, many of you are in this age now where you're writing from the city of love and from the street of this and stuff. But I've forgotten my old, I rhymed when I was a kid. We all wrote those things. You look at TV and you see Dallas and you see Knots Landing and you see show after show after show. And you think you're just looking at entertainment, but actually they're teaching you what love is. Or what love is about. How you're supposed to feel when you're in love, you see. If you feel this way, if you can't eat and you can't get him off your mind, if you dream about him all the time, if shivers run up your spine when you see him, that means you're in love.
So, if we can be taught how to love or taught what to love, can we be taught how to hate? Yes. Are our children getting taught to hate blackness? Well, if you think about the things that they see on TV, cartoons, so especially like Disney cartoons when I was growing up, the bad character was always black or dark or dressed in black or black and purple. Now if you know anything about your history, you know that purple is a very powerful culture, a powerful color in our culture, yeah? What does it represent? Royalty. So when they do this, it's like they're trying to reverse what it actually means. They're trying to associate with, evil and badness, yeah? So all of these cartoons that we grew up on, the evil character is dark or black or purple, yeah? Who remembers this? This was one of my favorite cartoons. What cartoon is this? Thundercats, yeah. What's his name? Lionel. And what's this? This is Mum-Ra. Mum-Ra? See, when I was younger, I was just like, yeah, no, Mum-Ra's the bad guy. He lives in a pyramid and he's dark, yeah? Then I started to, read up on my history and that. Started to realize they're taking the mick out of ancient Kemet.
That's right, bro.
He lives in a pyramid.
Come on, man.
And his name is Mum-Ra.
Come on, let's do it.
Amun-Ra. Wow. And yes, he has to be black or purple. And no one wanted to be Mum-Ra. Everyone wanted to be Lionel. I remember I had the sword. Yeah. I had the claw. I had the belt. I just didn't have the suit. I didn't wear that. But I had everything else. You know what I mean? I wanted to be Lionel. Growing up, I wanted to be Lionel. What other cartoons? Who remembers this one? He-Man. Yeah? Look. Black and purple. It's like Subliminal. Yeah? And what about black hating movies? Now you might think I'm reaching here, but who's this? James Earl Jones. You know he's the voice for Darth Vader. Now some people might think I'm reaching, but a lot of these Hollywood movies, every time they've got a bad character, they make a black person play the bad character, either by voice or imitating underneath. Yeah? Why is this? And it's always usually associated with a character out of space. Who remembers this? This was Aliens, yeah? Now, I found this very interesting, because when this movie came out, this alien was huge, yeah? Did you know that it was played by this guy? He's a 6'5" guy, yeah? Playing this alien. And I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, when I was growing up, what did aliens look like on TV? They were small, white, with big eyes, big black eyes. So then when they make a Hollywood movie, why did they change it and make it a big, black, tall, 6'5" alien with this head shape? Why that head shape? Well, that's from ancient Kemet as well. So we don't even realize it that they're teaching us to hate ourselves. Teaching us to hate our own culture. Yeah? Why did you get a black guy to play this? And what about this? This was one of my favorite movies growing up. Predator. Yeah? Predator was one of my favorite movies growing up. But question, why did Predator have locks? You're from outer space. Were you coming from outer space with locks? I didn't get it. Yeah? But like, why would he have locks? But do you know that Predator was played by this guy? No. Why do they keep on getting the black guy to play all these aliens and that sort of stuff? This is subliminal teaching from a very young age. And what about comics? Tarzan, yeah? Tarzan, who was raised in an African jungle by the African animals, and he grows up to kill the African animals and African people. And he was raised in Africa, yeah? So you'd think when he goes to choose a mate, the mate should be African. His mate was Jane. All right, what about black hate in music? Do we even need to go there? It's like all of our artists are just running away from their melanin. It's like their melanin doesn't mean anything to them, yeah? And have you noticed, with regards to our music, have you noticed that anytime we promote black hate, through our songs, if we're singing about hating each other, or killing each other, or rapping about murdering each other, it sells well, and no one bats an eyelid. But as soon as we start talking about black love and promoting black love, all of a sudden people have issues with it.
Hate each other and do violence to one another, but black love offends you. It's not hatred towards you, it's just black people loving each other. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah, so there's a problem there.
I agree. Sounds like there's a problem there. Yeah? I agree. There seems to be an intentional promotion of black hate. An intentional one. All over. Not just here, in the US as well. If I was to ask you, what's the most popular, or one of the most popular black TV shows in the US, what would you say? Power. Power. Yes. Is there any black love in Power? Well, If we talk about the black love couple, that would be this person and this person. What's his name? Ghost, and what's her name? Tasha. It's not like you watch this stuff, right? Ghost and Tasha. Now, this show's been going for how many years? Like, I don't know, 6, 7 years. Not like I watch it or anything. About 6 or 7 years. And in every episode, these two are in conflict. Every episode for 6, 7 years, yeah? And of recently, again, not like I watch it all the time, but you'll even see, because it's not just verbal conflict between them, you'll even see Ghost put his hands on her, like this. Now, when I was watching this, I was like, who's the writer? In other words, who wrote this into the script? Whose mind did this come out of? Like, okay, Ghost, this is what we're gonna do. All right, wait, I've got an idea. I want you to get your gun finger, yeah? And I want you to go to Tasha and just shove her in her head. Yeah, let me put that in the script. Shove her in her head. Shove her twice. Okay, see, go. Yeah? And it happens so much that Tasha, in every episode, has what I call the black pain face. You know it, you watch it, you've seen it. This face. Every episode, she's wearing the black pain face, the black suffering pain face, yeah? So what is this teaching our children? About black love, yeah? It's got to the point where black hate or black pain has become a genre within itself. So you can go and watch a movie, like a genre like Kung Fu, or comedy, or a thriller, or action, but if you go on Netflix, they should have a genre called black pain. Because that's all we're watching, is just black pain. That's the reason why every couple of years you'll see these slavery movies come out. Black pain. In other words, let's show black people with this face, yeah? Now, not to be outdone, what about the UK? Now remember, we're trying to find the truth here. Now, truth is, I watched this, the newest episodes that were on Netflix, and the acting in it was amazing. So big up the actors that were in it. However, certain scenes in this Top Boy episode were quite torturous. Like, I was watching the new Netflix series of Top Boy, and I was watching it like a horror movie. I was like, what the hell is... You see young black boys getting chucked off of the top of buildings and splattering in front of their friends. You see young black boys getting shot in the back of the head, shot in the front. I was like, this is a horror movie. This is like a horror movie to me.
Close to home as well.
Close to home as well. So I started to think, who wrote this? What mind did this come out of? Did a little bit of research, and turns out, this is the writer. Did we know this? So this came out last year. Ashley Waters says he didn't know Top Boy writer was white. Belfast born, so he's not even from London. So all those people saying, yeah, Top Boy's our culture, Top Boy shows, you know, London culture. He's not even from London. Belfast born, and he served in the IRA. So he knows about torture, yeah? Belfast born Ronan Bennett is behind the drama which hits Netflix after a 6-year hiatus, yeah? And he has a history of doing torturous scenes in TV shows. But he used to use people from Belfast, you know, where he's from. And when he came out with a TV show and he used his own people, guess what happened? Outcry, uproar. So he came out with a TV show called Gunpowder. So this is from Irish News. This is where he's from, remember, Belfast. Gunpowder writer Ronan Bennett defends torture scenes saying there's an off button. So in other words, when he done it with his own people, there was an outcry, there was an uproar. So what did he say to himself? Well, I still have this torturous mindset. I still want to show these torture scenes on TV. How can I get around this problem? I know, use black people and no uproar. Yeah, to the point where black people are saying, yeah, that's our culture. Gang culture is our culture. No, it's his. Yeah. So it goes on to say, Ronan Bennett has dismissed criticism of graphic torture scenes in his new primetime BBC drama Gunpowder, saying there's an off button. The opening episode of the 3-part series about a plot to blow up the Houses of Parliament in 1605 included close-up scenes of a young priest being hanged, drawn, quartered, and a woman stripped naked before being crushed to death by a stone slab. Is that black culture? Wait, let me check my Robin Walker Black History book. Just check to see if that's our culture. Being hanged. Who has a history of hanging people? Is that black people? Let me just check. Hold on. Wait. No, I don't see. That's not our history. What about being drawn? Does anyone know what that means? Being drawn. Being pulled by a horse. In other words, they tie your arm and leg to one horse by ropes, your arm and leg to another horse, and then get the horses to run in different directions. Who has a history of doing that? Let me just check. It's not black people. It's not our culture. And being quartered. What does being quartered mean? Quartered. 4. Cut up into 4 pieces. Who has a history of doing that? Let me just check if that's black people. No, that's not our culture. So, the more we start to study self, study our own history, the more we'll start to realize that gang culture or gang violence is not black culture. It is not black culture. And the more we start to study our own history, the more we'll truly gain knowledge of self. And when we gain knowledge of self, we'll naturally drop anything that doesn't pertain to self. We'll naturally drop anything that doesn't pertain to self. Like, we'll be walking around and just drop it. And people will be like, excuse me, you dropped something. What? What did I drop? I think you dropped your culture. My culture? Yeah. Oh, wait, let me check. Hold on a second. Torture, gang violence, war, rape, pedophilia, cannibalism. Nah, this is your culture, right? I picked it up by mistake. Take it back. So we need to understand, gang violence, that's not our culture. We've learned that, yeah? But the media is very powerful. The media will make you think that young black men are criminals and gangsters. I ain't never met a black gangster in my life. Never. I've read about gangsters though. So you're telling me these people came to this indigenous land, shot and killed everyone on the indigenous land, took over the land, renamed the land, and then told the world that they discovered it? That's gangster. I've never met a black gangster in my life. Yeah? But like a wise man once said, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. That was the great Malcolm X. Yeah? Now, it's not to say that some of our young black men ain't out there killing each other, because unfortunately, they are. But guess what? They learn from the best. So, should we just blame the media for our problems? Should we just go around saying, it's the media's problem, it's the media's fault, that's the reason why we hate each other and kill each other? Well, listen to what Jawanza Kunjufu said on a TV talk show back in the day. I think this was 1980s. Just listen to what he said when he was asked that question.
Jawanza, is it the fault of the media?
Well, there's no question that there's a direct relationship between images and self-esteem. And it goes all the way back to Tarzan, to Superman, to Rambo, to Batman, to even painting an image of Jesus Christ as white. I mean, you can't separate racism from anything. So it's not unlikely then that you have Pope Julius commissioning Michelangelo in 1505 to paint Jesus Christ white. Images control self-esteem. Abraham Lincoln found out very early, when you have 300 slaves on a plantation and one master, it's a lot of work. Why don't you let them go? But don't teach them who they are. Control their history. Control their images. Then you won't have to watch it. Whoever controls the mind will also control the body.
Let's talk about the image.
Whoever controls the mind will also control the body. So, what is the effect of all of this black hate on our children? Well, in the 1940s, they done something called the Clark doll experiment, where they had a black doll and a white doll, and they were just asking children, which one's the good one, which one's the bad one, yeah? Now, if they done that experiment today, would we see the same results?
In Brown versus Board of Education, the famous case of desegregated schools in the 1950s, Dr. Kenneth Clark conducted a doll test with black children. He asked them to choose between a black doll and a white doll. In most instances, the majority of the children preferred the white doll. I decided to reconduct this test as Dr. Clark did to see how we've progressed since then. Can you show me the doll that you like best or that you'd like to play with?
This one. I like that one.
Okay.
This one.
That one?
I like to play with this.
And can you show me the doll that is the nice doll? And why is that the nice doll?
She's white.
And can you show me the doll that looks bad? Okay. And can you and why does that look bad?
Because it's black.
And why do you think that's a nice doll?
And she's white.
And can you give me the doll that looks like you? "15 out of the 21 children preferred the white doll."
Very painful to watch. She couldn't even pick it up. Yeah? But this is how subliminally our children are getting taught to hate themselves. From a very young age. Has anyone seen this? From a very young age. We're getting taught to hate our own hair, getting taught to hate our own skin, getting taught to hate. Look. But from a very young age, we're being taught it. The environment is teaching us to hate ourselves. Keep hate what we see when we look in the mirror. Hate what we see when we look in the mirror. But I have a question. Who taught you to hate yourself?
Who taught you, please? Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. No, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate? You should ask yourself, who taught you to hate being what God gave you?
Another warrior in our community. A warrior, yeah? But how do they do this? How do they teach us to hate ourselves? By the way, quick question. Who loves themselves? Hands up. Okay, that's the majority of us that say they love themselves. Here's my opinion. Here's my opinion. Teaching or tricking a black person to hate what they see when they look in the mirror is the greatest magic trick of all time. The greatest magic trick. If I can trick you into hating what you see when you look in the mirror, to me that is the greatest magic trick of all time. But how do they do it? Well, every time I'm teaching science, I like to use analogies. So visualize this analogy, if you will. If you had a fish in a fishbowl, and the fish was sick, what would you do? Would you treat the fish or would you change the water? Change the water. Common sense or logic would tell you to change the water, because the fish is only going to be as healthy as the water it's swimming in. The water becomes what the fish consumes every day. So what are we consuming? Now, everyone in here knows that junk food, the consumption of junk food leads to ill health. Everyone in here knows that. We know that certain foods will lead to us being sick, yeah? But what we tend to forget is what we consume is not just through the mouth. What about what we listen to? What about junk music? Yeah? What is that doing to us? That's consumption through your ears. What about consumption through your eyes? What are we watching on TV? If there's such a thing as junk food, surely there's such a thing as junk TV. And speaking of junk TV, what's this? Junk TV. Oh, no one knows, huh? What is this? Don't act like you were walking in. Alright, punch us, I don't watch that. What's this called? Love Island. Alright. Now talk about junk TV. Who watches it, by the way? Show of hands. Okay. Some honest people there. Show of hands, okay. So at the beginning when I said what's more important, the truth or your opinion? Truth! Truth! Who watches Love Island? I know, the camera's on. Okay, I get it. But talk about junk TV. You know that this TV show has now been linked to 3 suicides. Not 1, not 2, but 3 suicides. What is that teaching our children about love? Yeah? What are we consuming through our ears, eyes, nose, and mouth? And what are we consuming through our skin? What do we put on our skin every day? A lot of us don't know, but a lot of these chemicals that are in these products cause us cancer. Yeah? Especially us as black people. A lot of black people, we love our hair, but a lot of the black hair products aimed at black women have what they call EDCs in them. Endocrine disrupting chemicals. Chemicals that will disrupt your hormones, leading to cancer. So what are we putting on our skin and in our hair every day? Why are we doing this? Yeah? The young brother there who was the poet, who was talking about getting a trim at the barbers, enough respect. But I remember when I was younger, I used to go to the barbers every week. And for the guys in there, you know, barber, trim, that's about £10. So that means monthly I was spending about £40 on my hair when I had some. So monthly, I was spending about £40 on my hair. Now, who wants to be honest? Black women, how much do you spend per month on your hair? 30. 0. Okay. Okay. All right. No one wants to tell me. All right. Chances are it was more than me. Chances are it was more than £40. So let's just say 50. Let's just round it. I don't want to embarrass no one. £50 a month. Now, if I was to ask you what's more, because all we're talking about is cells, because your body's made up of cells. Muscle cells, bone cells, heart cells, pancreas cells, hair cells. If I was to ask you what's more important, your hair cells or your heart cells, what would you say? Your heart cells. And guess what? Your body would say that as well. Because if you started to die, your body starts to prioritize cells over other cells. That's the reason why if you're going through cancer and you take chemotherapy, chemotherapy kills all cells, but the body prioritizes the most important ones and gets rid of the ones that are least important. When you're going through chemotherapy, what goes first? Your hair. So, according to your body and according to everyone in here, hair is the least important. Your heart cells are more important. Your pancreas cells are more important. Your kidney cells are more important. How much do you spend on your heart cells each month? Total confusion. And speaking of confusion, anytime we're talking about black love, I hear a lot of black women ask this question. Listen carefully.
Karen, you had a question.
I just wonder why sometimes often black men choose white women over black women. I don't understand that.
Well, I think that's very easily answered by the fact that we still live in a world where we base images or beauty off Europeans. In other words, if America defines beauty as light skin, long hair, and blue eyes, haven't they told you what ugly is? There are still people even in this audience using terms like good hair. If you know what good hair is, you got to know what bad hair is. If you know what pretty eyes are, you have to know what ugly eyes are. That's dialectic. Once you know what it is, you automatically know what's not. But you know what's amazing about racism? When I was in Florida, I found Europeans trying their best to run down to Florida to get a suntan and look like us. And then I found us running home with cream, trying to look like them. Do you know how many black women, even in this audience, cannot swim? Afraid their ass gonna go back? Go back to where? Where are you afraid of going back to?
What he said at the end there. The black women are afraid to get into the water because they're afraid that their hair will go back. Go back to it. Woo! But he makes a good point. The environment is affected. The environment can affect what we love. Yeah? Like I told you at the beginning that I do childhood obesity training in the schools. When I go into the schools and I talk about childhood obesity training, to the children and the teachers and the parents often come up to me and say things like, yeah, I know my child needs to be drinking more water. I know Leon, I know he needs to be drinking more water, but little Jamal, he just loves fizzy drinks. He just prefers fizzy drinks over water. Yeah? Or He loves sweets. He prefers sweets over fruit and vegetables. It's just his preference. Now that's true. That's probably true. It probably is his preference, but there's no doubt that the environment influenced his preference. Yeah? There's no doubt the environment influenced him wanting to have Coca-Cola over water. Yeah? And sometimes when we think about it, the things that we love, it's not actually love, it's more addiction. So if this environment that we live in can affect and influence what we love, what makes you think that same environment can't affect who we love? Yeah? And again, sometimes the things that we love, it's not actually a love, it's more of a addiction. Speaking of addiction, what else are we addicted to? Oh, I don't know. This is making us into zombies. Do you know how many times I go to the train station and I see people like this? I go to the train or bus stop or anywhere, but usually train station, just look around. Everyone's like this. Zombies. I'm like, have I just entered the twilight zone? Everyone's down on their phone. And me, I like to study things, especially words. I think that's the easiest way to understand science, is understand the words. Look at the etymology of words. Etymology means, where did it originate from? Yeah? So I did some research on the word addiction, and I found this. It's Latin. It comes from Latin, addictus or addicti. Person enslaved for debt or theft. Did we know this? Addiction means enslaved. Devoted, addicted to, debt, slave of, bound to something, bent upon. So if you're addicted to something, you're a slave to that thing. Who's this? Harriet Tubman. What was her famous quote? I freed 1,000 slaves, I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. If only they knew. Yeah? When it comes to most of our confusion, if you want to know if someone's confused or been confused, you'll hear 3 magic words. Those 3 magic words are, I didn't know. I didn't know. You'll hear that every time someone's confused. Like, oh, I didn't know that meat and dairy causes fibroids and prostate cancer. I didn't know that the radiation from my phone was causing me all of these headaches. Women in relationships be like, I didn't know that that was your man. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know. That's when you know someone's confused. But because we all have smartphones, not knowing, which is the definition of ignorance, not knowing is no excuse, because we all have smartphones. Gone are the days where you had to pay thousands of pounds to enroll yourself into a UK university like this one, or Cambridge, or Oxford, to find out some information you couldn't find anywhere else. Those things are gone. I could go on YouTube right now and watch a full Oxford lecture in my PJs. Yeah? So I didn't know is no excuse anymore. Not in this information age. It's out there. Ignorance is no excuse. Or, as my black history teacher always says, ignorance is a curable disease. So, we need to go back to knowing ourselves. And that starts with, learning our history. But don't take it from me. Who am I? Take it from one of the greats, Dr. Amos Wilson. We must come to know ourselves.
We must come to know ourselves. If we do not know ourselves, we lose control of ourselves. We don't know why and for what reason we behave as we do. We must exercise control over ourselves. We must come to esteem ourselves and accept ourselves. To a good extent, the problems that we talk about all the time are problems that flow from people avoiding themselves, escaping their real selves, and creating mechanisms and machinations to facilitate their escape from themselves, and using other people and abusing other people in their escape from self-acceptance. in their escape from their real African selves as a people. And therefore, if we're going to stop abusing and using other people and using them as objects and so forth, then we must come back into self-acceptance and come back into reality. We must gain the ability to form affectionate relationships. And ladies and gentlemen, the ability to love and how to love is taught. In this system, we're taught that it's something that occurs accidentally and spontaneously. That is not true. Even romantic love, with all of its shivers up and down your spine, and all of this business about you can't eat and you can't sleep, and you toss and turn all night and all that kind of stuff. All of that's taught. You've been listening to the music all the time, and it's told you how you should feel when you're in love. Right? Isn't that what it says? Oh, I think about him all the time. I can't sleep. Oh, you in love. Not necessarily. You may be addicted.
Touches on a good point. Maybe it's just addiction. And if you study science, you know that addiction is due to one very powerful neurotransmitter, and it's dopamine. There are others, serotonin as well, but dopamine, they call it the pleasure neurotransmitter, the neurochemical that gets released in the brain. When it gets released, that's giving you that feel-good, that pleasure, that loving sensation, yeah? And dopamine and serotonin get released, it gives you the bliss chemicals. You feel in bliss. And you know what releases dopamine in the brain? Cocaine, sugar, heroin, and there's been research to suggest that likes and views from social media release dopamine in the brain. In other words, we're getting, or some of us are getting pleasure from being on social media. There's been research to suggest that that's the case, that these chemicals are getting released when you see the likes go up and the views and the comments and that sort of stuff. Pleasure from this. Because, this is just so much. This is just so much fun. So much fun. Yeah? But many of us like to think that we're in control when really things are controlling us. We like to think we're in control of things, but things are controlling us. And some people say, my phone doesn't control me. Well, here's a question. Who here has an iPhone? Wow, that's a lot of you. Who here has an Android? That looks like the other half. Okay. So, we think we're making independent decisions. We think we're in control of our lives, but the environment that we live in has made us make one of two decisions. Either an iPhone or an Android. So the environment that we live in, even though we think we're making these independent decisions, we're in control of our lives, no, the environment has affected us to the point where we've all made the same bad decision. And by the way, this is a bad decision, especially if you're on 5G and that sort of stuff like this. These things are literally frying our brains, yeah? So it's a bad decision to have an iPhone, a smartphone, especially if you're putting it next to your head. People who call me, they know, don't call me, because one, I probably won't answer. Or two, if I do answer, my phone's far away from me. And it's on loudspeaker, people will be like, yeah, Leon, I'll be like, yeah, fam, what? Are you there? Yeah, man, I'm there, man, speak up, what? I'm not putting that next to my head for it to fry my brain, and in in my 50s, I've got some tumor or something, yeah? So we need to be aware of this stuff. But Dr. Amos Wilson says that we love the things that destroy us and hate the things that advance our growth. Listen to this.
So when you're filled with self-hate, your mind is reversed. What it means is this. You will love the things that destroy you. And you will hate the things that advance your growth. And you watch and look at your behavior. Look at the behavior of your compatriots and watch if what I'm saying is not true. I hate to read. I hate to study. I hate to learn. Oh, but I love to party. I love to smoke, I love to drink, I love to screw, I love to, ho. And all the loves often you will find will be loves that what? That don't advance you one bit, and yet you can't get over them. You're addicted to them, you see. But the things that lead to growth in wisdom, knowledge, you see, self-understanding and self-discovery, healthy relations, self-control, all those things are hateful. But this is the only way a minority can rule over a majority of people, is by turning their minds backwards so that they love the things that destroy them and hate the things that move them forward.
Okay. Now back to one of my questions before. Who loves themselves? Hands up. Okay, that wasn't as many as last time. But you see, when it comes to loving yourself, when I asked if someone said they love you, is that proof that they do? What did you lot say? No. So if you say you love yourself, is that proof that you do? So what do you need to do to prove that you love yourself? Action. So, do you eat like you love yourself? Like if I was to observe what you eat on a daily, weekly or monthly basis, would I be like watching what you eat like, you love yourself, yeah? Do you eat like you love it? Do you move like you love yourself? Do you exercise every day? You love your body, so you move it every day, you exercise every day, you're out in the sunshine, you can find it every day, you get fresh air every day, you drink plenty of fresh water every day because you love yourself, you know, action, yeah? Do you speak like you love yourself? When no one's around, in your head, is it positive what you say? Is the word can't part of your vocabulary? You know, you hear people say, I don't even like my job, you know. Okay, well, leave it. Nah, I can't. But you love yourself, yeah? You do love yourself. Yeah? Do you speak like you love yourself? And do you act? Action. Do you act like you love yourself? Do you read like you love yourself? Like, what are you reading? Every single person in it should be reading a book right now. Yeah? And what are you reading? If I was to ask you, what are you reading about? What would it be about? Or better still, who are you reading about? Who are you reading about? And when it comes on to who you should be reading about, like your favorite subject to learn about, who should be your favorite subject to learn about? Yourself. Yeah. So if you're reading, learning, you should be learning about self. Yeah? Because you should be your most favorite subject. So learning your own history. Black history, when we ruled. Malcolm X, all of those people, that should be part of knowledge of self. Yeah? It starts with self. And to understand self, you have to go back to the roots. Learning self. So this is what we need to go through in order to love. We need to love self first. Yeah? So if I was to say to you, okay, we need to love self first. If I said to you, what do you see when you look in the mirror? What would you say? What do you see when you look in the mirror? Anyone?